Hi and welcome to Craft with Hayley. This is the third card in our online class this month, and this one is doing the faux watercolour technique, which I love. Takes a little bit of patience, but it's well worth the results in the end. Now earlier I mentioned that if you take a few millimetres off your embossing folder, you can emboss your images in more than one way. This stamp set lends itself to being an upright stamp set, which kind of implies that your cards all have to be that way, okay? But by trimming a few millimetres off the bottom of your embossing folder, you can actually get your card to go through the opposite way, so landscape, not portrait, which is fab. So it just gives you a bit more versatility. So I'm just going to show you how you can achieve this kind of effect, which I think is quite pretty. I don't know what you think, but hopefully you think the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our piece of white card and our stamp, and I'm also going to take our ink pads. So I'm going to give them a good squeeze because I want plenty of colour, okay? The more colour the better when these go on. Okay, again a big squeeze. Big squeeze. Okay, then I'm going to use my blender pens. Now the reason I'm using my blender pens rather than the markers themselves are, first of all, when I designed this card, the markers hadn't arrived, so therefore I couldn't use markers. And secondly, I loved the effect it gave, because it gave this faux watercolouring effect, and actually I loved it. So I thought, do you know what, happy accident and all that. So I'm colouring in the colours that I want. I would suggest that you do your darkest colours first when you're colouring an image like this. And the reason for that is if you colour your lightest ones, by the time you get to the last few that you're colouring in, you might find, oh, I just realised you can't actually see that, you might find that the colours are faded away into almost nothingness, okay? Whereas by doing my colours first, dark colours first, even if they fade a little bit, they'll still have plenty of colour on them, whereas, like I say, the lighter colours might not. So that's my tip for you on this. So I think that's those. That's my red flowers, or strawberry slush. Oh, very gorgeous colour. So I'm then going to do my lovely blue Coastal Cabana. Okay, so you can see I'm just inking the images that I want on the stamp, and this is the effect I'm looking to have. Brilliant. Just want to make sure you get plenty of colour onto them. Like I said before, it really is one of those techniques that you want to spend a bit of time just getting right. I'm rushing it a little bit here for the camera, but equally, you know, spend some time yourself when you're inking your image up, because the last thing you want is to waste the 5 minutes or whatever inking it up and then going, oh, I don't like the image because, you know, you haven't spent enough time on it. It just wouldn't be worth it. Okay, so next I'm going to ink up my crisp cantaloupe ones, which are rather yummy. And you can see I'm leaving the pale pistachio pudding till the very, very end, and that's deliberate because it is by far and away the palest colour that I'm using. So I don't know if you can see, I'm just scribbling off my blender pen in between, because once it goes back to clear I can pick up any colour. Okay, so I'm just scribbling away. Okay, so just want to get the last bits of this on. Now many of you are going to suggest or think that I should huff now on this image to make it work, and normally I would agree with you. I'd say, yeah, you're right, huffing is really good, but because I don't want the dots to ink up as well as my flowers, I'm not going to huff on it, because any residue, ink, or even just the moisture of your, you know, if your huff will leave some residue behind, and then you can end up with some spotty images. And if I'm honest, on this particular card I don't want the spots, so I'm not going to huff. But normally if you were inking up a stamp like this, you would huff on it to just re-moisten that out. Okay, I'm almost done. Hurrah, they say, hurrah. So, and then we're just going to stamp it out. Now, Big stamps are difficult sometimes to stamp with, aren't they? You know, we try and turn them over and we don't necessarily get the image they want, or etc. So I'm actually going to pop mine on the top. I'm going to cheat. Okay, and I'm going to rub it nice and firmly. I've seen tips where people have done this with their brayer, which is a really good idea. My brayer's never clean enough because then I don't have an emergency side. But if your brayer's clean enough, that's good. Well done you. Okay, so I'm going to hopefully have put enough ink on that. I'm just going to rub it in again in case. A bit scared, but fingers crossed. There we go. And how gorgeous does that image then become? You know, just absolutely pops. It's beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to show you the embossing folder. I'm going to whiz it through. I'm just closing my ink pads up because it is warm, and otherwise what happens is they dry out a little bit. So I'll just pop them to one side. So the embossing folder is the opposite way to the way you'd expect it to be, because we need to be able to see where our image is going. So we're just going to line that up. You can see there. Yeah, that's lined. Okay, so you can see I've grabbed my big shot and I'm just going to stick it through and emboss it. Okay, and then the results will look like this. And how gorgeous is that? It just makes the whole image just pop. Okay, what I've then done is I've just added that to a card, and I have finished it off with my little greeting from the Label of Love again, but this time instead of using the whole stamp, I've cut it with my scissors because I just wanted "to the best friend I've ever had" as a little accent there, which I thought just finished the card off perfectly. So hopefully you like this. I'm really glad you've watched. If you want to find out more details about my online classes, do pop over to www.craftwithhayley iClub, and all the details will be on there for you, or alternatively drop me a line on hayleygillie@live.com and I'll happily answer any questions you have. Really hope you've enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you at next month's online class. Take care.